and for Sunil for setting the stage for this discussion. You know, both of them have sort of outlined where organizations are moving and how they are moving. And so this is a great opportunity for us to talk to some practitioners in the field to understand really what they are doing and what are the challenges in doing this. And so we're going to talk today about building blocks of digital transformation and how to make the digital transformation. And the reason we are talking about this is that today the ability to accurately anticipate future needs can be very vital to the survival of the organization itself. And that's because business disruption can come from all kinds, most unexpected places. I think Sunil mentioned some examples, and you know, we have lots of examples in India itself where the business environment has been completely transformed by technological advancements. Take for instance, travel. Everybody knows how the travel agent business today has transformed completely. You know, so you have sites like Make My Trip, Yatra, Oyo Rooms, you know, Ola, Uber. All these people have completely changed the travel and hospitality business. You look at retailing. You know, of course people still go to shopping malls, but you ask them what they're doing in shopping malls, probably not shopping, probably only window shopping. I don't know whether they're actually buying anything there. Because why? Because everybody's going to Flipkart, Snapdeal or Amazon and they're only discussing the latest deals and they're buying stuff over there. And this is not just characteristic of large cities. I mean, it's percolated down to much smaller towns. You know, I was reading some news which says, you know, places like Indore have or Jaipur have very large number of people actually buying online, and so that's how the market is transformed. Take a very conservative industry, and I'm very happy that, you know, that's the case study that's been taken up, which is financial services. And you are seeing a lot of new companies disintermediating what banks and insurance companies were doing. You know, you have people like Paytm, Bank Bazaar, lending cards. You know, you can borrow money, you know, today. And it's very astonishing that all these changes come only in the last maybe 3 or 4 years. They certainly didn't exist before that. So it's not just these very visible industries where you're seeing this kind of disruption. In fact, every industry segment or sector appears to be under assault from a wide variety of new players. And of course, the incumbents are not sitting still. They are also now starting to retailing. So you have, you know, large shopping chains now come up with their own apps. They are also going online, and you're seeing that happen. And the good news, according to Gartner, is, you know, over 100,000 organizations have launched digital business initiatives. I think Kapil also said, you know, from his study of the Indian industry, the number of companies who are undertaking or, as he put it, flirting with digital initiatives is rising every year. And in fact, Gartner's own study says a lot of CEOs now expect that a significant increase in revenues from these digital initiatives. I mean, so that's something which their CEOs are optimistic about. But the bad news, according to Forrester, is only 27% of all organizations actually have a coherent digital strategy. Or if you look at it the other way, 73% still don't have a digital strategy. They're experimenting with going digital and, you know, they're toying with it, but they actually don't have a strategy. I mean, Kapil would probably have numbers, I think his numbers is closer to 6 to 7%. And so 23% is, you know, the international number. So I think there's a lot of catching up that we have to do. So really we want to look at, you know, how organizations are looking to transform the customer experience, their operational processes, and even business models to survive and prosper in today's digital age. So to talk about this, I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Arun Singh. He is function head IT for Tech Mahindra. Please welcome on stage Mr. Arun Singh. Mr. Atul Chaudhari, he is GM IT, Global Cloud Exchange, which is part of RCOM. And Mr. Rohit Kohli, AVP Corporate Information and Security at Genpact. Please welcome on stage. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. You know, we talk about digital transformation and how it's becoming so important. I'd like to just step back a bit and ask you about the industries that your organizations are in. And what are you seeing, what has changed in the last, say, 2 years? What are you seeing different about your industry? You know, you are in the IT services industry, you are in the telecom and communication services industry, and Rohit, you are in the business process industry. So what are you seeing as a, overall as an industry, what has changed in terms of what are changes you're seeing on the customer side, what are you seeing in the industry level?
Yeah, I think the customer demands are rising very high, and the speed with which we really want to catch up, that is forcing us to get into the digitization. If you really look at the way the information was accessed initially vis-a-vis what we do now, there is a lot of changes, and the majority of the people, the numbers have increased. Like initially the desktop was the media to access the information, then it went on the laptop, now today is the mobile devices, which means the number of people trying to access the information is more than compared to what it was initially. And with that respect, you really have to be very quick in the overall process and bring the information and the business to the people so that you capture a lot of customers across, point one. Point two, you really get to the major areas of the market rather than what you are doing. And from that perspective, we see a lot of force on the digitization. From the Tech Mahindra perspective, internally we have a lot of work that we do internally from the digitization because we are part of the technology, and ITS is our main core of business. So just one example, we see Facebook across. We have our own social website, which we call it as MyBit Plus, which is the social media for the organization, and we do a lot of information sharing and collaboration on that particular website. So that's one of the examples, but there are many more which can be shared.
Sure. Thanks, Arun. So, Atul, in your telecom industry, what are you seeing as the sort of major changes that are happening at the industry level?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Primarily, in telecom industry, when we speak telco, it is a large technology environment and the huge information processing in the systems. So the scalability is which we see, and the expectation of customers. See, the customer need a freedom. He don't want to call a call center and do this for me. He want everything on his mobile phone. I will click, done.
Okay.
So register my mobile number. I will request for a bill. Bill should reach to me. I will activate services or deactivate services. I will raise a trouble ticket. I want updates on trouble ticket. So the expectation is very high. And since the transactional, we have the huge transactions, we need to upgrade our systems continuously. That is primarily from my industry, but since I provide services to most of the industry from banking, insurance, other telcos and all, our customers comes to us with the similar problems that scalability is an issue. So that is the first problem they have. Another problem is expectation of customer is increasing. Product portfolio which has been built in last 20 years across the industry, either it's insurance, banking and all. Now the manageability from system point of view is a problem for them.
Right.
Because we have built 50, 60, 70 applications in last 20 years, and now the complete expectation and the way product is getting delivered is changed, and now upgrading these platforms is a challenge. So these are the challenges we are looking at, and the way Sunil and Kapil has explained that this is challenging, and the new startups which are coming, which we have seen the example of the bank, which is a challenge for a bank, and I believe most of the businesses has the challenges, similar challenges.
Yeah.
So upgrading to the new environment of digital transformation is a challenge across the industry. We have solutions. Some part we are still finding the solution. So infrastructure scalability, we moving on cloud. So when we say we ourselves as an organization and our customers as well, because we are now into the cloud service providers. The change management into the system. We have seen the example of application development. We need application in 2 months. We all have gone through these phases. The CEO has some dream, and then I need this in 20 days, 30 days.
Tomorrow it will be good.
Yeah. So we all seen these challenges, but now we need on-the-fly applications.
Right.
So there are lots of startups who are developing these applications where you can You can build the customer acquisition system in maybe 30 days or 60 days and can be customized on the fly. I think CA technology has a similar product. So these are the challenges, but I think it is the time now to move ahead and adopt these changes. But of course, it's a challenging environment now.
So I can see Rohit shaking his head, as someone responsible for security, he grapples with these things. So Rohit, I want to quickly ask you, in terms of, and even Sunil mentioned in his presentation, the security is one of the key pillars of this digital transformation. So what do you see in terms of security as an issue? In your industry, across industries, where is security as an issue today among practitioners?
Yeah. So I can't really agree more with what they've talked about and how vast the expectations are for bringing up the applications, and for us, and we are considered as bottlenecks for most of the application development folks, because whenever it gets down to security, we are bottlenecks, because they think they'll add a layer of protection, some control, some new processes to build stronger applications. And I have a similar set of applications. It's a similar set of challenges, because Genpact adoption on cloud and digital is huge. We're building a lot of applications, automated, a lot of platforms and applications for our customers. And this was one of the biggest challenges for me also. How do we work or collaborate very strongly with our development folks or engineers to make their life easier and making sure the applications we're building for our customers are secured? With that, we thought let's get away from the approach of doing an ad hoc work. As your application gets completed, let's do a static assessment, let's do a secure code analysis, let's do a dynamic assessment. We thought it makes sense to get into the automated process. Let's automate the areas wherever we can, right from solution definition to threat modeling to even doing the automated static code analysis, leveraging different technologies. We have gotten away from those acting as bottlenecks and enabling teams and training teams by creating awareness as to how those can be leveraged. In addition to that, we've also looked at wherein earlier there were multiple tickets to be opened by the release management team for issue tracking and then defect closing. We have automated all of those processes. With that, we are not acting as bottlenecks, but we are doing a hand-holding and making sure those applications and security teams work hand in hand, and whatever applications we deliver are secure. And that is one of the most important factors for us.
Thanks, Rohit, you then brought up a very important point, which I think Kapil also emphasized, that it's not just about technology, that you have to change the mindset, you have to change the way you are working. So Arun, did you have any comment on that? To make this digital transformation, yes, you are all fairly advanced in the use of technologies, but is that sufficient?
No, not really. That's really not sufficient, because when you get into the digitization, there are a lot many things that needs to be seen. And one of the prime area is the focus and what is the end result that you're targeting. I mean, everything can be mapped very easily if you know how the technology works or how the industry works per se, provided you know the end result, what is that you're trying to achieve. Similarly, in the digitization also, when you go with certain assumptions and when you go with certain targets, then there are a lot of complex technologies which follow. I mean, we talk about cloud, which one way or the other way is a part of the digitization. We talk about, today we are seeing IoT coming in the scenario. The moment you talk about digitization, you need a big data at the back end, because the complete management of the data is very, very important and key here. So a lot of hard effort definitely go at the back, and security is one of the region, is definitely an important area which cannot be left by anyone on the technology side. What is important is how good or bad you are in analyzing and monitoring the security parameters. Because if you really talk to the security expert, they generally say there are only two type of organizations in the industry. One is already hacked and he knows he has been hacked. Another one is he's hacked but he doesn't know that he's hacked.
That's true.
That is how the overall analogy goes. And what we generally as an organization do on the security side is, of course, all the 7 controls or 8 controls that you talk about are there and absolutely implemented. But then how quickly you can catch the problems that are coming or the hacks that are coming and be proactive in order to understand and block that. So that's one of the very important parameters that we consider at any areas on the technology that we do.
But to talk a little bit about, just let's say, coping with the velocity of change. So today you have a scenario where, earlier we had what were called release cycles. So we will develop a software, then we will let it run in production for a while, we will watch all the bugs, we will make a list of them, we will fix them, then they will be the next release. So, but are you still following this process for your core systems? How does it work?
That process definitely is followed, but the turnaround time has been reduced a lot because now we use a lot of products which are already there in the market, like to talk about Microsoft Azure and all, that you really get a lot of things already available, made and is been tested to the standard. So for you, turnaround time is very, very less as compared to what you really try to do from scratch. So these are the technologies which actually helps you out to get your cycle reduced. That is one point. Secondly, if you really look at the examples like Uber and other things that we are talking about vis-a-vis the companies which are already there in the industry, the major difference that I see, and that is my personal opinion, is the new companies which are coming have the greenfield type of scenario to implement, whereas the industries or the companies which are already there in the industries, they already have a huge infrastructure with the question marks of ROI on their head, saying that, hey, you have already invested something, you have to use it, whether it's old or new, but then the ROI has to come. So in spite of you having pushing yourself for the new technologies and other stuff, you actually push back yourself, saying that I have to use what I have done. Whereas if you really look into the new companies, they absolutely are greenfield. So their hands are open, their thought processes are open, and they know what they want to achieve from that particular process. So that's what my opinion is.
So, Atul, how about, what's your view, in terms of just coping with the velocity of change and, as opposed to the old way of doing things and what is expected today?
See, we looking at the current transformation which is happening across the industries. Of course, the process which you mentioned may not be sustained longer. We as an organization has taken initiatives and we have changed our financial systems and the billing system. Earlier we had three major businesses who has a different products and different nature of business. We have simplified the process and converted it into a single platform. So now it's simplified billing, invoicing and the accounting systems. We are also moving on now with the customer acquisition systems for it. So again the problem which we are again facing is the cycle of waterfall model, and
Yes.
when we see how much time it is going to take, it's taking 8 to 9 months. And the CIO says, the CEO says, I'm not running IT company, I'm running a telecom company, I need it into 3 months. So of course we are looking at the product which can give me on the fly customization and customer acquisition process can be configured on the fly, and we can go product by product and do it in 3 months or let's say 4 months, and cut down the testing process, testing and deployment process. So these are the changes as an organization we are looking at. Of course, our customers also going through these processes of upgrading the systems. But yes, it's needed.
Rohit, I want to ask you, what's your view? The velocity of change and how do you cope with it, even while not compromising on security? And I think, of course, security is one aspect. There's the real hard part of actually doing all this stuff before we come to security. So,
absolutely.
but it's a vital part. And because the threat environment is also changing so rapidly, even for an existing application, how do you keep it safe? I mean, even that environment is changing so fast.
Definitely. So it's like this. So while we also had a lot of rounds of discussions on how to move away from a waterfall model to an agile model, and how do we make sure these applications are turned around real quick, from 3 months to a month or probably 15 days these days. And what is that? So as I mentioned earlier, also automation being the key. What we have now adopted leveraging secure products, secure frameworks, secure APIs. So we really don't invest too much of time in reinventing the wheel or assessing the security of what has already been done or what is out of the box. Rather starts focusing on the areas which is which is something that we've created, could be a mobile application, could be web applications, or a particular web layer itself, we'll probably do a threat modeling at those levels instead of doing it for each of these layers, because that adds a layer of delay. So with that, we have definitely cut down on the timelines in terms of delivering those applications. But to your point on how do we maintain the sustenance and ensuring the applications remain secure, because the threat landscape is evolving. There are certain technologies that we are leveraging, not the traditional web application firewall and those controls, but there are certain advanced which works at the data socket layer, which provides a real-time protection for your applications. So with your applications behavior being changes, it keeps or makes it equipped to those changing attacks or vulnerabilities or security issues. It gets adapted to that real quick, and it has a behavior with which it automatically changes its pattern as well.
Okay, so you're building more intelligence into the software itself to enable it to cope with the environment.
So on the infrastructures, I'm sure a lot of you already heard about the virtual layer of creating shield or containerization. Similarly, we are adding a layer of containerization around those applications. Even if the threat landscape gets changed or the behavior gets changed, their applications are still protected.
Okay, so which brings me to another point which is often discussed and which is the sort of the new way of building apps or applications is using APIs. And so are you using APIs, and how are you using them? That's okay, anyone of you could take it here. Or are you exposing APIs to others so that they can leverage it?
So it's both actually. So we extensively use APIs. So Genpact's cloud adoption is huge. We probably have 20-25 odd application on Force.com, which is a Salesforce CRM platform. So with that, we are using Hadoop servers and Heroku platforms in the back end with some of our enterprise applications that we're building. So there, the API is key. And for other technologies also, we are leveraging the integrated APIs in order to do this integration, because that makes it more stronger. And we are also, for some of our applications wherein we are helping our banks or customers where we've developed the mortgage applications or credit card applications, we are using APIs or creating APIs to extend our application access to them as well. So yes, API adoption is huge. At the same time, we have started doing security testing for the APIs also to make sure they are secure.
I was going to come to that, thank you. So, Atul, if you'd like to add something on the API front.
In my business or in the nature of our business, we need the API interface to provide it, because lots of international customers, they want the API interface to get the information about their services, to get the information about trouble tickets and all. So we need to either give them an API interface or give them a web services based interface. Of course, the security team is always behind us, not giving access to them, but yeah, we have the solutions for that, and of course, our business can't run without API interface.
So APIs are becoming increasingly important to your
business, of course, because the customers are demanding it. The B2B customers are demanding it because they have their application set and they are serving their customers where they need the information to be available about the services which we provide to them.
And there's another thing which Rohit mentioned, when he was talking about containerization. So are you using containerization technologies and all?
Yeah, we are using it for various applications, primarily for the customer assurance management systems. Lot to be done, but we initiated because it is I think the backbone of the API interfaces which we provide. So we need to do the containerization.
So Arun, any comments on APIs?
Yes, on the API integration part, if you really look at, no integration can be done without the API. That's what we generally assume, because that is the very easy way to integrate. And what we have generally seen is it's not only the homegrown software that we do, but a lot of OEMs in the market also prefer the same way, whereby they want to integrate their OEM products with the homegrown application, and they actually come ahead with the API as one of the best options that is available.
So do you use any tools for managing all these APIs, or they are not that many at the moment?
So we don't use any vendor tools in order to manage these APIs for now. The cloud APIs are generally managed by the providers itself. But yes, we do perform a lot of tests around these APIs which are built by us.
Right.
But as such, no, we
Not-
don't.
not
we
at the
are
moment.
But there are certain ones. In fact, CA also has an API management tool. So we would look at some of those tools to in futures to manage those APIs also. But for now, no.
Okay. So the other question which I wanted to ask the panel was, this question around application performance and application performance optimization. When there is an end customer, the end customer, sort of expects that everything will work seamlessly, it will work perfectly, and it will, really work fast. So how do you meet those expectations of the user or the customer? So do you use any tools? I mean, what do you do to optimize your application, particularly when it's
So
a
there are
hybrid
tools.
kind of application?
There are standard tools which we use, and that's one of the very important area that we do during the process of creation of the application. And also that becomes part of the operation cycle whereby the reports are generated on the daily basis type of scenario, and that also used as one of the area to troubleshoot and do further enhancement. So we definitely use, but that's an OEM product which we use
Okay.
for our requirement.
But do you do sort of real-time monitoring of
Yeah,
apps,
so
or
real-time monitoring is what we generally mention to department, but I'm sure whether that's real-time or not, but yes, on the daily basis the reports are generated which comes, and based on that the actions are taken, because whatever investment we generally talk about from the future enhancement perspective are taken based on this data point.
Okay.
See, application performance, the standard improvements which can be done on the software level, optimizing the application APIs, optimizing the databases. For me as a telecom operator, the optimization doesn't work in that way because my data growth is very huge.
Right.
Primarily in our managed services businesses, we are monitoring our top 500 customers globally, their network. So we are a managed service provider and monitoring the performance. We do not option not having the optimized system available. So recently we have migrated our most critical and resource-hungry applications on cloud, and we have seen a good performance improvement. So I think for the huge data or the resource-hungry applications, we should look at cloud-based solutions, because the upgrade and the performance management can be done on the fly on the cloud.
So any comment you want to make, Rohit, on
Sure.
application performance monitoring? And
Probably that's on.
I know that's one tool which sort of intersects with whatever you are trying to do. So
Yeah, so we are known for using the
degrading performance.
No, so I think so considering the performance has been one of the critical aspects here, the call or decision that we have taken organization-wide is to move most of our applications on cloud. So with that, our not just the AWS or Azure adoption, for instance, is huge. We are adopting a lot of SaaS applications also. As I said earlier also, at Force.com, we are putting most of our integrated application here, MOCRM applications on Salesforce.com to make it more integrated. And there the performance impacts are relatively very, very less compared to what it was seen in the traditional data centers.
So if I am to sort of take a consensus view that application performance is becoming less of an issue than before, considering the developments in technology and the way you are implementing things?
The solution to the improving application performance is becoming cheaper and cheaper day by day by the.
So it's been solved.
Yeah.
It's been solved.
Yeah, because see, earlier if I want to upgrade the infrastructure for my where I want to improve the performance, the cost is very huge. But now on the cloud, the cost is coming drastically down.
And you have more elastic system, so you
Yeah.
can scale up and down. So so we take it that that should not be an issue for most people anymore. You should be able to.
That's one of the important area which any developer considers. It's not that because the hardware is cheaper or the links are cheaper and things are going on the cloud, that's the area which can be left as, because we generally see that's one of the important part of the development cycle which the developers generally use in this scenario. And APM is an important area for any application developer if you really talk to him. So security and the performance, these are the two key areas which they generally take into the consideration in the development life cycle.
So, a related question to this, when we talk about mobile apps, we push it out and then how do we know that the customer is happy with it? We can push out the app. Our data center or backend infrastructure runs wonderfully. We've got all these wonderful clouds and all this sort of things. We are completely optimized. But then you get these customer complaints saying, your app sucks, I can't even use it. So how do you deal with such a situation?
So we have done that. In fact, we have 3 or 4 applications which are taken on the mobile, and that's absolutely the initial stage of the scenario when people log a call or say that the application is not working. That's one way. Another way is looking into the number of concurrent sessions that is happening, or how many people actually have downloaded the application, and what is the active connection happening. That is also one of the area which help us out in understanding the way people are trying to access the application. Because if your total strength of the organization is, as an example, say 1 lakh people, and if only 5,000 connections have been established till now, that's a good signal for you to understand, saying that your application is not taken positively by the people. And that's how we try to collaborate with the user, connect with the user, and try to understand what is the problem or the issue that is happening. Second thing that we have seen, the application that is created on the mobile has to be considered with a clear focus that you are trying to help him, not trying to increase his or her load. If you are trying to increase his or her load, he is not going to connect. That's very simple strategy or the output that they generally follow. So when we go for the application on the mobile, we generally see that this is an added value to the user, so that wherever he or she is able to access and get the job done. So very simple example, and then travel is some of the example which we heard in this scenario. So for example, if you're traveling and some of your junior has raised a travel request, and for you it's not possible to approve, it's only the mobile app where you just go and say approved, go ahead. And I mean,
Right.
that's the easy way to give an access, and then the scenario at the back end catches. So we considered all these live examples. Some of these we rejected, saying that, oh, this is something which user won't like, and this is something which will take. Of course, the success rate was not 100%, but yes, 70-75 we were able to achieve.
So anything else you think would help, improve the user experience, putting some way of metering inside the app itself, diagnostics, which could feed back to you saying, okay, people are finding this function difficult to use, or this takes far too long, or would you be interested in having something like that?
I think it's ease of access. Ease of access, better interface, that is the only area which can be considered.
Okay.
As a very simple way, the example that I gave to you, if I consider the same travel example, if I have to approve a travel request and I have to go into the application and go for 5 or 6 interfaces and then say yes, and if someone, that's one of the option. Other option is something coming on the SMS and I say yes and just reply back, and that yes goes into the system and it says approved. I mean, both the requests, if you really consider both the application, the one with the yes will be taken very positively by the people, because that's very easy to access. So I mean, that's the thought process that you really have to go through and understand which one will be accepted by the user when you really go on. So these are the areas which really need to be considered, and that was the reason I mentioned at the very initial stage of the discussion that it's very important, and a very focused approach has to be taken before you say that I want to go and do a digitization. Because success and failure rates are very, very important. You create something with massive spend and massive hard work, and then you find that people are not using it.
Right.
That becomes a real nightmare, actually.
So, my final question to the panel, so we've been talking about all this digital transformation and the imperatives. So, of course, some of the imperatives are definitely, we can get some kind of cost efficiencies. That's one of the commonly said reasons for making a digital transformation, or some operational efficiencies if we can get out of it. But what other reasons would there be more compelling to actually go for a digital transformation? I think, Arun, you did mention, right, this issue about ROI, and I have got all this legacy system which still has to be paid off. So what is your advice to people? How can they justify to senior management when they come with such roadblocks? What is your advice? How to overcome this? That make it an imperative, why we must go in for this. And
Yeah, basically, as you clearly mentioned that moving onto new platform from the existing one, the investment which you have done and the new investment which is required, convincing this investment to the management is a big challenge. But if you observe the Kapil's presentation, or what Sunil has presented, in next 5-10 years there will be more robots doing the human job. And if you don't adapt to the new digital transformation, we will be running the same business with 1,000 people, whereas the competitor will be running it with the 50 people.
So scaring people is a good way.
Not actually scaring people, because we know every business is going through a margin churn, and that's why everybody needs more out of the less investments. And of course, the few businesses, or the most of the businesses, the talent cost and the human cost and the accuracy, for accuracy more people. So this is going to be a bigger challenge. Of course, the information security is also more vulnerable when there is more people involved in the process. And if the automation is happening, we are moving into the digital world where the authentication will be done on the biometrics. Like if you see few of the application on the Apple phones now, you don't need to put username, password. You have to just put your fingerprint and application gets plugged in. So that
I know
change
one of the
happening.
banks is already saying that, right? No password, just use your
No
fingerprint.
password. Let's just put your fingerprint. It will log in the application. So that's the challenge. Maybe we see after 5 years who is not transferring, maybe doing the business with 10,000 people or 1,000 people, and who has transferred will be doing the business with 150 people.
Thank you. I think that's it. So anything you would wish to add, Rohit, to this?
No, I think it has been wonderfully covered by both of them that digitization is extremely important, and if you don't do it, you probably would not be in business for long. And that's the fundamental we are also following and helping. Not so Genpact being a VP organization, a management consulting organization, is not only helping with processes, but we are involving and making sure digital remains a key aspect of it. And the technology and the process goes hand in hand. Yes, it's very important.
So Arun, final word. What one piece of advice would you give to anybody who is undertaking a digital transformation? What's one advice that you would give?
I think the point that I would like to mention here, that is completely based on my experience, is you should be very clear what you want. And unless you are not clear, please don't go for digitization, because you rightly mentioned the word fear, and that is what is pushing people hard to go for the enhancement of a selection of the technology. Cisco owner mentioning about 70% of the organizations will go off in next 10 years who are actually the millennium this time, and that's the point which a lot of companies actually catch, and they say, oh, I really have to change myself and really look into the technology, else we will go off. So that fear factor is definitely hitting everyone, and that was the reason many moved to cloud. Now some of them are talking about IoT, and then they're looking for the use cases, and now digitization is coming up. But it's very, very important that we as an organization should understand what is my core business, point one. And point two, with that core business, what is that I'm trying to achieve? Only then the digitization point should be taken into the consideration. I think if you remember what Kapil Singh mentioned about the 4 points which actually clearly articulate, saying that these are the areas which you really have to consider before you go into the digitization. Else it's a good word to understand and take time to grab it out. That is how it has to be. I mean, we heard cloud 3 years back. A lot of companies still are not in the cloud. They are still struggling or understanding the cloud. So it's not that you heard and you have to jump in the market, but then yes, you have to understand the fact that things are moving in the area which is named as digitization, which is named as cloud. If you are there, it's good. If you are not there, plan how you can be. And then the end goal is very, very important. That is something which one has to consider before jumping into the technology. That's what I would like to mention.
So, Atul, anything else as an advice you would like to add for somebody who's looking at making a digital transformation?
See, my advice is start a move, or you will be out of business.
Good. Thank you. That happy note, we should close this discussion. I want to thank all our panelists for being here. So thank you, Arun. Thank you, Atul, and thank you, Rohit, for being here. It's been a wonderful discussion. And in case if anybody has, does anybody have a question which the panelists could answer? Yes, sir. Can you please get a mic? Thank you.
Carefully, listening to your points about the obsolescence, upgradation, ROI, so on and so forth. So this is basically, I am from the government side. So very much applicable to the government in the sense the government takes generally long time to upgrade their equipment, the setup, whatever. So the basic question is, the government has made a setup which may be security intelligence at that point of time what was available in the market, right? Along with that, government has hosted some applications in their data center, say for example, okay? So the infrastructure setup along with the applications which are available and maybe applications are interacting with the apps in the market also. I mean, considering all those features. And they may have the as you have said the cloud environment too. The question is that security in the security front, as you have mentioned several times, there are a lot of threat dynamics, right? It's rapidly moving in, and one cannot really predict at any point of time what can happen. I mean, that is the fundamental, cause of the threat today. So considering this fact, so we need to know really the solution or need to know how to handle such scenario. I mean, every day or every week or every month you cannot say, go and upgrade your security appliance, right? Or you customize or upgrade your application. See, it's more important than, monitoring your application performance or so and so forth. Maybe performance is one of the important issue definitely for, business to take ahead. But I know that security is a major, this point of discussion tomorrow.
This one.
So this has becoming or is really a challenge for the. I'm sure that for the corporates also.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, for every day we cannot go on changing. So see, we have the equipments in place, and one can plan for the equipments as part of the improvements. Definition or whatever. I mean, everything has a process, right? People have to follow the process and do the job. So that's my question, right? So if we can evaluate the entire, in fact, just to tell you, just to add to my comment, that if we have some system in place that can continuously evaluate the entire infrastructure along with the application, okay? In fact, evaluate in terms of the behavior of the traffic, and in fact, that kind of applications may be there, but I'm not very sure how much are they foolproof or they can help the organization to to plan from the right point of time. Something can happen, you can catch it. You can plan for the next, but that is not the point. I mean, at that point, the loss can be havoc also. Could you get my question?
Yes, I think that's why we should ask Rohit to field this one. He's the security specialist.
Okay. So to your point, sir, definitely we also undergo and have the same set of problems wherein it's challenging for us to upgrade our applications very frequently. And knowing the security landscape or threats landscape or knowing vulnerabilities, it's like becoming a nightmare for all of us. And that's the reason I made a point of creating a shield or a container or Docker outside an application or around an application, which in real time protects security to your applications. And maybe offline after this discussion, I can recommend you solutions which we have adopted or are currently working on to create a shield around our applications, which in real time intercepts each and every request that is made to our applications, which works as a data socket layer and make sure that your application is protected against those security vulnerabilities or security threats for that matter. Nothing is 100% secure, but with that or implementation of those controls, you can mitigate the risk to a great extent. So even with that, for some time also, even if you don't patch your systems or don't upgrade your web servers, your application is still protected to a great extent. Yes, there is always a chance of a mishap.
Thanks, Rohit. So,
Latest patches along with it, its background. I mean the operating system or the platform that has to be patched properly as per the latest availability of patches. I am particularly questioning on this particular zero day attack kind of things.
yeah, so I think he has
Right.
mentioned another thing in his reply, which is about using containerization.
I'll add a point to zero day specifically. This is one of the probably the most misused term in the security industry is zero day. What is a zero day? Something which is non-known to the world is a zero day. And when it is known to you or to me, it's not a
It's no
zero
longer
day.
0 day. Yeah.
So there are ways to protect against those known attacks, and these real-time solutions that I'm referring to can protect your application against those known attacks. I would not use the term zero day because that's something which is not known to us.
Right. So thanks, Rohit. And so may I suggest that please speak to him, offline. I think he has some very interesting observations and he's got a lot of experience in this area. I'm sure he can share some of his expertise. But thank you so much for your question. I think it's a very practical issue and which everybody is grappling with. So I think we've run out of time. So thank you so much. Thank you for your sharing in. Thank you. And thank you for the audience for a very patient listening.